The Cursed Maiden, Part 2. With all this in her mind, Ifweko went home with her golden bracelet. Ifweko was anxious that something bad would happen to her that night. To her surprise, nothing did. Months passed and nothing happened. Little did Ifweko know that the gods do not forget things and they do not like to be deceived or tricked. On the night Ifweko delivered her child, the goddess of beauty appeared to her in a dream and cursed her baby. Ifweko indeed gave birth to a very beautiful baby girl. She called her Ose. At a young age, Ose was so beautiful that the villagers adored her. Ifweko received so many gifts that made her so happy. However, some villagers wondered and questioned how Ifweko was able to give birth to such a beautiful child. To the surprise of many, Ose was not like her mother. She took after her father instead. Ose would sit with elders and listen to tales and words of wisdom. She would also do chores without complaining and help others. As Ose grew older, her good and kind nature remained. She would teach children to be obedient to their parents, and so many villagers loved her for this. Many men in the village admired her, but some were not bold enough to approach her. However, there was a man in the village who avoided Ose like a plague. His name was Igo. Igo was the son of Ohen, the most powerful priestess of Okosisi village. Ohen was the priestess who told Ifweko to appease the goddess of beauty. Ohen, however, told her son Igo to avoid Ose. She did this because when Ose was born, she sensed evil and dark aura surrounding Ose. Ohen then concluded that Ifweko must have done something wrong or must have disobeyed the goddess of beauty. Ose was not born into the world with purity. One day, Ose confronted Igo. She asked if she had offended him and if that was why he avoided her. Igo told Ose that she did nothing wrong. However, he told Ose that he felt that she was only favored because of her beauty. Ose was determined to prove to Igo that she was more than just a beautiful maiden and that she had more virtue and value as a maiden. She then told Igo to meet her later that evening. That evening, Ose and Igo started a conversation. Ose then began to speak powerful words of wisdom and mystical things that was only known to few people in the village. Igo was surprised that Ose was filled with so much grace and wisdom despite her beauty. The next day, Igo approached Ose and apologized for misjudging her. He then asked for her friendship. When Igo got home, he told his mother Ohen that him and Ose had become friends. Ohen knew that her son had grown and that she cannot keep her son away from Ose. She then gave Igo a very powerful enchantment bead. She told her son that the bead would protect him from any harm. Things started to fall apart for Ose a few days after she turned 19. Osahon, a renowned farmer in the village who had just harvested his crops, went to present it to Ose's mother, Ifweko, and asked for her to give it to her daughter, Ose. Ifweko, being a mischievous woman, did not reject the gift. Instead, she danced and was happy. Few days later, some men in the village did the same thing. They will sell their merchandise in the market and they will take all the money to Ose's mother. This became a big problem in the village, especially the women in the village were angry, and soon the love they had for Ose disappeared, as Ose was still dealing with the reality and problem she was facing from the villagers. So she ran into the nearby forest to cry. She decided not to go deep into the forest so she would not be in danger. Unknown to her that someone was coming from the deep part of the forest. It was Igo. Ego had gone into the forest to pick some powerful herbs for his mother, Priestess Ohe. Ego saw her crying and approached her. After hearing what happened, Ego comforted her and they both left the forest. A week later, a prince named Oriri had come to Okosisi village to discuss something important with the king. When Prince Oriri arrived at Okosisi village, he passed through the marketplace with his guards in order to get to the village palace. As the villagers saw him, they all bowed in respect to the prince. Ose, who happened to be at the market, also saw the prince Oriri and bowed. However, the prince was fast enough to have taken note of her beauty. He then walked up to Ose and introduced himself and stretched his hand to Ose as a sign of good gesture. Ose then took the prince's hand and arose. As soon as Ose's hand touched the prince felt a shock in his body and suddenly he fell to the ground and became unconscious. The guards were surprised and quickly ran to help the prince, but immediately they touched the prince, the two guards that touched him fell to the ground and became unconscious. It was that moment that the two other guards knew that something was wrong. Watch out for next part, guys. Please like this video, share, follow my page. Bye bye, guys.